You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Glad you can join me on another podcast of All Things Sports with Mike Davis. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, do yourself a favor, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, all of that. Make sure you go to any of the social media links in the description box to get in contact with the show for any comments or suggestions. I won't take up much more of your time. Let's get into it. Okay, so recently I saw something where Marshawn Lynch was saying that he deserved to be in the National Football Hall of Fame. And it got me to thinking, because let's be real, the NFL pretty much throws anybody in the Hall of Fame. You don't have to be the greatest or the best, or you just need to be somewhere near I was good for, an X amount of time, whatever that number is that the NFL says, hey, you qualify. But like I said, it got me to thinking. And for those of you who don't know who Marshawn Lynch is, I'm not sure why you're here and you don't know who Marshawn Lynch is. But Marshawn Lynch, former NFL running back, outstanding career in the National Football League, played for the Buffalo Bills, Seattle Seahawks, and he had like a cup of tea with the Oakland Raiders. But more people probably know him with the Raiders than they do the Buffalo Bills. People, I don't really think Marshawn Lynch really hit the scene until he got to Seattle. I mean, real football fans remember him in Buffalo, but he was a different Marshawn Lynch in Seattle. All right, so let's go ahead and let's just jump right into it. Does Marshawn Lynch deserve a spot in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? So let's look at his stats. You got Lynch, who finished with his career of over 10,000 rushing yards, 85 career touchdowns, numerous accomplishments. But the one that stands out, though, he was not an MVP of the league. He was a consistent force on the field. 5 Pro Bowl selections, a first-team All-Pro. The resume is impressive. I can admit that. It's a nice resume. But there are some people who might argue that his numbers really don't quite measure up to other Hall of Famers, especially at the running back position. Now, I think that, it's true. His numbers, they're not as, when you look at it, his numbers, they aren't as eye-popping as some other running backs in the Hall of Fame, But I will say, it is important to consider the impact he had on the game besides stats. So Lynch, he was known for his physicality, his ability to break tackles. And if you don't believe me, go ask the New Orleans Saints what he did to them in that playoff game with all those tackles that he broke on his way to the end zone. The guy, relentless on the field. One of the most feared running backs, when he was at the top of his game. Played a crucial role in the Seahawks' success, including their Super Bowl victory. If you give him the ball on the one, Seattle has 2 Super Bowls and not 1. Okay? Let's put that out there. So, look, Lynch, true game changer. But some people might say, well, his career was kind of short, compared to other Hall of Famers. And that goes back to what I said, where he really flamed out, in Oakland, Buffalo. I remember him in Buffalo. I don't remember off the top of my head how much time he spent in Buffalo. But, he really, his prime years really were with the Seattle Seahawks, but he was the heart and soul of the teams that he played for, at least in Oakland and Seattle, even though in Oakland he really didn't play much, but, But look, his presence was felt on the field. Opponents felt it. Fans felt it. And it's not always about longevity with some guys. You can look at Penny Hardaway in the NBA. You'll have some guys say maybe he needs to be in the NBA, the Basketball Hall of Fame. And he didn't have that long of a career. He had a long career, but he didn't play a long career because he was always hurt. I'm one of those people who think that Penny should be in because I was a Penny fan. But look, that's beside the point. Look, Marshawn, great impact player, during the time that he played. So what other things go into consideration when you're talking about what makes you a Hall of Fame player? So let's talk about cultural, significance. The beast mode persona. How did that play into his candidacy? Look, the beast mode persona is a catchy nickname. You gotta have a nickname if you're gonna be one of the guys. If you're gonna be that guy, that dude. If you're him. The beast mode name represented his style of play, his intensity, his refusal to back down, breaking those long runs. Again, ask New Orleans Saints. He became a cultural icon, from his days with the Seahawks. The interviews, I'm just here so I don't get fined, or lack thereof, that really became legendary for Marshawn Lynch. And it captivated fans around the world, So I think that his impact off the field also can't be ignored. But to all that, I'm going to say that no. Unfortunately, he is not a Hall of Famer. If you look at his stats right now, and I'm looking at them, I see Marshawn Lynch is ranked 29th as far as all-time rushing goes. So he's 29th on the list. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at guys that are around him. So but the three guys behind him are Otis Anderson, Ricky Williams, Clinton Portis, the former Bronco and the former Redskin, now Commanders. So those guys aren't in the Hall of Fame. And then you look at the guys in front of him: Eddie George, Tiki Barber, Thomas Jones. I don't believe Tiki is in. I think his brother Rondé just got in. I don't think Tiki is in. But so those three guys aren't in. Thomas Jones, Tiki Barber, Eddie George, they're in front of him. They're not in. And I'm looking at the guys in front of those because you have Jamal Lewis, Ricky Waters, Warwick Dunn, LaShawn McCoy. Those guys are in front of him and they're not in. And then you get to O.J. Simpson. He's in. And surprisingly, I see Corey Dillon at number 20. And I saw him also saying he needs to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He might have a case. I'm looking at this list and I'm seeing where he's at. And I see other players like Fred Taylor. He says he needs to be in. He might have a case as well. And I'm looking at Steven Jackson is in the top 20 as far as rushing goes, which is mind-boggling. But I'm looking at the names in front of those guys. Fred Taylor and Corey Dillon might have the strongest cases out of anybody I just mentioned. I would put Fred Taylor and Corey Dillon in before I put in Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn, the end of his career hurt him is what happened. He didn't really play in Oakland for real. He was injured, and I don't remember so much of his Buffalo days. I remember him playing for the Bills, but I'm gonna have to go back and see if he actually really played. Like what impact he had on when he was in Buffalo. But right now, I'm going to say that impressive career, impressive resume, but it's a no for me. Marshawn Lynch does not deserve, at this moment, to be in the Hall of Fame. I would put Fred Taylor ahead of him, and I would actually put Corey Dillon ahead of him from the list I just saw. But look, I'm going to keep it short. That's all I got for you today, folks. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. Go to any of the social media links in the description box and then contact the show for any comments or suggestions. You've been listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis. And remember, it's your world. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm out. Peace.
You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.